get up and dash 100 meters and I would eat up the competition. It's just non-existent. I kick my feet up. Thought I was passing till I got blasted.
You know, the universe is a very strange place. I had a comment that YouTube deleted that asked me to go back to reviewing Ring of Honor because they wanted to talk about the most recent Ring of Honor TV episode, which featured Homicide versus Jay Lethal. And of course, I wasn't in a position to really do that. It takes a lot of time to record these videos. But literally about a half hour later, I get a ping from my Twitter account when I'm told that Ring of Honor is literally releasing the entire roster. And I'm like, what on earth has happened? What has happened? So I take a minute to see what happens, and Ring of Honor puts out this statement. And essentially the statement is that after Final Battle on December the 11th, they're going to go on an extended hiatus and every wrestler will be a free agent. And they're going to probably be returning within the first quarter of next year, around April maybe. So it's probably going to be shut down for like 3 months. After that, they'll have a new roster and there'll be a new strategy, a new philosophy for Ring of Honor. And it's not good. It ain't good. This is the closest thing to going out of business they could possibly do. Ring of Honor had a great roster. You know, a great roster. Yes, there were people on there that I did not like, obviously. But you had the Briscoes. You had Jay Lethal. You had Jonathan Gresham. You had Dragon Lee. You had Roosh. Roosh is injured right now. Like, they're about to release guys, and some of these guys are injured. You know, and some of them are really good. Now, you know, they have Flamita. Flamita's really good. Dalton Castle, I made a video pushing for Dalton Castle to go to NXT because I thought he had a real potential as a manager. So I really like the Ring of Honor roster, and they really seem to. I like their approach to wrestling too. You know, it's a very mat-based approach. There's not that many goofy characters. It's very pro wrestling, and now it's gone. There's a question mark on the end of that. Because we don't know what Ring of Honor will look like if it comes back. Now, the question is, does Ring of Honor come back? To be quite honest, I believe it will. Sinclair Broadcasting is worth a grip. They have a lot of money. The issue here is going to be, how can they monetize the Ring of Honor brand? I have been on a kick about trying to help Impact. You could probably go back through the archives, especially if you're a newer subscriber, and you could probably see that I've been trying to do things about trying to help Impact. You know, because I've been saying that, hey, Impact cannot exist how it has been existing. And I actually suggested that they go online like NWA and like Ring of Honor. When you're owned by a TV network, like Impact is, like Ring of Honor is, you don't get rights fees. In other words, you don't really make a lot of money off of advertisers and stuff like that. So you don't really need commercials. You know, like it's nice. It's a nice to have. You know, but WWE gets significant rights fees. People pay them for Raw or SmackDown, right? Because you can go somewhere else. This was a conversation that I believe Disco Inferno, and I believe I heard Eric Bischoff talk about this in terms of WCW. Nitro could never go somewhere else because it was owned by Ted Turner. So it couldn't go anywhere else. Whereas Raw was collecting money from USA Network, and they could always go to Spike, which is what they did later. When you're owned and held captive by a broadcasting company like Sinclair or like Anthem, you don't get the rights fees, and therefore you're a significant income stream for the wrestling business, which AEW uses and which WWE almost not wholly relies on, but it's a good chunk of their revenue is their rights fees for television, which they, of course, is another reason why they probably would never sell to NBC, because then they would lose rights fees. This is horrible for business. It is bad for business. And Ring of Honor has been operating without television for several years, maybe a lot over a year, of course. And then, of course, Ring of Honor had that long shutdown for the pandemic. They didn't release any talent. They actually paid people during the pandemic. They were actually seen as being one of the promotions that was doing the right thing during the pandemic. But they were still doing empty arena shows even after the pandemic. And I consider the pandemic to be over. I don't know about you guys. But Raw and SmackDown, they got crowds every week. Impact even has a crowd most weeks now. Ring of Honor was still doing arena empty shows. And it's October. And they're still doing, they were doing crowds for pay-per-views, and that was it. They weren't doing a lot of touring. They were taking the pandemic seriously. But the downside of that is that they paid people during the pandemic when they weren't working. And then when business kicked back in, the expenses came. Now you have to ask where the money was going to come from. They held a couple of events. I don't know what those events generated. I don't know what they drew. I don't know what it's like. What their Honor Club subscriptions and stuff is like. It's hard to tell. But I can tell you they lost the grip. They had to. Where was their income going to come from? That was the question. Where is their income? Merchandise? Do people really buy Ring of Honor merchandise like that? They still sell DVDs on their website. Ring of Honor is it's like 10 years in the past. It's an interesting thing. And it's sad that, it took for Ring of Honor to almost go out of business before wrestling fans and wrestling media actually started talking about them. And when they do talk about them, of course, they talk about the guys that, went on to be superstars in WWE or in AEW, the Danielsons, the Punks, the Samoa Joes. They don't talk about the guys that I was just talking about, Jay Lethal, Droosh, Dragon Lee. They don't talk about those guys. They talk about the guys that was hot during the heyday of Ring of Honor when it was probably the number one indie fed in the world. When they were bringing in New Japan guys and All Japan guys on a regular basis, like Kenta Kobashi and Misawa, bringing those guys in to have matches. That's the heyday of Ring of Honor, and it is. And that's all those people cared about. Ring of Honor, modern Ring of Honor, all it's known for is the Elite. Oh, that's where Cody and the Young Bucks came from. And as soon as Cody, the Young Bucks, and all those guys left, they gave up on it. They walked away from it. So I'm not surprised that Ring of Honor is crawling around on its belly now. You couldn't pay some of these bastards to talk about Ring of Honor anymore. They'll talk about it on pay-per-view, I guess. They'll talk about how great Jonathan Gresham is when they see him in GCW or something like that. But follow the product weekly? No, absolutely not. So it was very interesting to me that I started seeing all these people with the RIP Ring of Honor things, and I was kind of like, ugh. I know it's taped in advance, and you can probably find the spoilers and all that kind of stuff, but to me, it's something tasteless about people who now want to use Ring of Honor to boost likes and all that kind of stuff. There's also this very interesting thing that I think it's subtle, but it's not in the conversation of what happened and what's going wrong. Now, I've talked about, them paying people during the pandemic when they weren't working. That's a huge, there's a lot of money going out, nothing coming in. But you also have these lawsuits that they've been going through. And they've been fighting these lawsuits, the Kelly Klein lawsuit and the Joey Mercury lawsuit. I talked about them on my channel. These are part of it. They're different lawsuits, but they have certain things in common. One of the things that they have in common is they're both arguing against the independent contractor status. They want Ring of Honor to acknowledge that wrestlers are employees. So could that be part of the issue going on with Ring of Honor, that maybe there's some type of settlement in which they will have to re-sign wrestlers as employees rather than independent contractors? We'll have to find out and see. Maybe there was a settlement. Part of it was Jay Lethal being accused of sexual harassment by Kelly Klein. Part of it was unsafe working conditions due to, I believe, not having ringside doctors. I think that was one of Kelly Klein's arguments, and that she was sent to work with concussions and different things like that. Even though some Ring of Honor wrestlers have come out and said that what she was talking about wasn't true, that's one of the things that's out there. Also, Ring of Honor added a lot of expenses to their roster with the addition of a women's division. They brought their women's division back. Now, they had a women's division before, which Kelly Klein was the champion of, and then she got fired after she exposed the business, talking about the concussions and the independent contractor stuff and the unfair, she wasn't being paid the same as a man and all that kind of stuff. And then they restarted the division with Roxy, who was a Booker T student, and she won the women's world title. And then they started signing a lot of women. And the women's division was actually okay. It wasn't that bad. But it adds more expenses to the roster. And, you have to ask the question, like, was the expansion of the women's division or something like that too much? Could Ring of Honor really support it? It's not a question of whether Sinclair Broadcasting can pay for it. We know that they can. It's not an issue of that. But Ring of Honor, as a company, has to have its own budget. And I think people don't understand business. They don't understand that part of it. They don't understand what budget cuts mean. They say, oh, well, look at how much money WWE has. How could they be releasing people for NXT, on budget cuts? It's like, well, NXT is a branch of WWE. If they set aside, I don't know, let's pick a random figure, $20 million for lighting, buildings, and talent when it comes to NXT. If they start to get close to that $20 million, knowing that they're not going to bring in any money, they're going to start cutting talent. That's what budget cuts is. It means that there is a section of money set aside for your piece of the company, and you have to operate within the money given to you. So that means Ring of Honor has a budget that they get or submit to Sinclair Broadcasting, to which Sinclair Broadcasting has to okay that amount of money spent. Now, knowing that Ring of Honor doesn't generate rights fees like WWE and AEW do, that's going to be a difficult thing. That means their budget's probably going to be smaller, a lot smaller. Then you have to look at their merchandising. Do they have the same merchandising as AEW and WWE? Of course not. They might not even have merchandising on the tier of Impact. Okay. Then you also have ticket sales. I think they run smaller buildings than even Impact does. They run, I think, the same buildings as MLW. If I remember correctly, they both ran the 2300 arena, and which is the old ECW arena, if I remember correctly. I think GCW probably runs bigger buildings than both MLW and ROH right now. And there's a lot of competition for talent. A lot of people are paying talent a lot of money, and with AEW on they're doing it. They're going out there paying talent. WWE for a while was doing it with NXT. They were really paying talent. That's how, a lot of the talent that got wooed away from Ring of Honor, that's what it was. It was, they can't compete with WWE on the money. But when WWE was the only one, it's a little easier to do, because you can hand pick a couple of guys and be like, these guys are good. These are ours. But then when you get Impact in there and they're willing to spend the cash, then they're siphoning your talent off too. But Impact hit a crash. They're not even really, paying a lot of money for talent either. So, but now AEW is there, and they are paying a lot of money for talent. So you got AEW and WWE chomping at the bit for the talent, and these guys who work in smaller buildings, not really getting the big merchandise money that they wanted or they might want. It's a completely different ball game. They have to rethink how to make money with Ring of Honor. So the question is going to be, how can you make money with Ring of Honor? And I don't have the answer to that question, because I think they're doing the right thing. by having it on the website. But, how do you, I'm not sure how to monetize that. Maybe they have to do, what Reality of Wrestling and what, what's that other one? OVW, and maybe run their shows on YouTube. And, hey, get that super chat money, get YouTube ad money. That might be the better way to fund Ring of Honor. At least you'll have a general idea of how many people watching your product. Especially because that's what MLW does, at least right now, for the time being. They go straight to YouTube. And people don't have a problem watching MLW because it's straight on YouTube. And people talk more about MLW than they do about Ring of Honor. Ring of Honor having the website, it's a good thing because at least they can control their own product. But it's still something you have to remember every week to go to Ring of Honor Wrestling to watch the product. It might be easier to do it on YouTube. You can just, set your reminders or whatever and come back and watch it later. But this is really sad, and there's a lot of things that, have been floating around. But one thing that was for sure is that the Ring of Honor talent, where a lot of them were very happy that Ring of Honor didn't release anybody during the pandemic. They saw how WWE got reamed for it. And a lot of Ring of Honor talent were really, really happy. Some of them were vocal about how WWE sucks and they don't ever want to work there and how it's a horrible business and how demoralizing it must be. And I kept saying to people, it's all business. You got to release people now or something's going to be bad later. And here it is. I could say names because I do remember some Ring of Honor wrestlers that were saying stupid stuff on Twitter. But they have children, right? And I don't want to see people lose and I'm not talking about the Bennetts either, not just the Bennetts anyway. It was more than them, okay? It wasn't just Mike and Maria. I know that's the first thing people think of because I ripped on Mike and Maria a lot. But it's not just them. There was other people too. But all of them, as far as I know, have children. They have families. They were, being able to, take care of themselves off of the money that they were making from Ring of Honor, and now that money's going to be gone. That's bullshit, But this is what happens when you don't run a business. You have to run a business. The business end of it is that they should have started releasing people, or at least telling talent, we can't pay you during the pandemic. We can't pay you. Sorry, But this is paying people not to work is hard. That's you asking for a lot from people when you ask people to pay you to not work. And I think in our modern world, we forget that. Money is tied to work. When we keep separating money and work and thinking that, work is optional, but money is mandatory, it don't work that way. You get problems like this. And I know it's not just the pandemic that did this. But it had a big influence on this. I've talked about some of the things that, have been a problem so far. Not having rights fees for their television. The lawsuits, which they could lose. I don't know if they're going to, what's going to happen with them. Merchandising. Honor Club. I have no idea how well Honor Club does or doesn't do. It's really quiet. Running small buildings. Having a very small roster, having the roster, and I'm not going to talk about the small roster as if it's a bad thing. But what I'm saying is they're not in the sweepstakes for any of the big talent. People go to Ring of Honor because they want to, not because Ring of Honor can offer them something. People go to Ring of Honor for like EC3 for the creative freedom, quote unquote, not because they're going to get paid big money. Maria went over there because she was going to get an executive position, probably a 6-figure position, in Ring of Honor to run the women's division. That's why she went, But I have been big on Ring of Honor. I stopped doing the TVs because they do too low views. Almost nobody was watching the reviews. That's why I stopped doing them. But that didn't mean I stopped watching the shows. I watch the show every week, I do pay-per-view reviews. Like I did the review for the last big pay-per-view. I think it's Best in the World, right? So it wasn't Best in the World. It was something else. But never mind. It's a sad time because you never, and I know a lot of people have been, oh, we can look at AEW should sign up all these guys. It's like, yeah, they can get Jay Lethal and they can get the Briscoes, and that'd be great. That'd be fantastic. That would be great for the Briscoes, and that would be great for Jay Lethal. It'd be great for Jonathan Gresham to get a shot in AEW. That would be excellent. It would be wonderful if NXT could come in and swoop in and pick up some of the talent that they got. Some of the young guys like Eli Isom, or some of the chicks like Roxy, who was really trying to do something. Miranda Alizé or Trisha Dora. Would be nice. But it would also be nice to not have everybody either in WWE or AEW. It would be nice to have Ring of Honor, where other people can go work. It's nice to have Impact. It's nice to have MLW. Because everybody can't get pushed at one time. I mean, for fuck's sake, Bandito is awesome. What is Bandito in Ring of Honor? He is the world champion. What is Bandito in AEW? A masked midget. What is he in WWE? A comedy job guy chasing the 24/7 title. No, he is better off where he is. We don't need everybody under the same umbrella. That's fucking whack. So here's hoping Ring of Honor gets to come back. And they come back stronger. And I hope a lot of people just decide to stick around, like the Briscoes. They need the heart and soul to stick around. They need the Briscoes. They need Lethal. At least when the restart kicks back in, they need at least those guys under contract. They need, to show people that Ring of Honor is back, but it's back in a major way. Maybe if they want to sell shares of the company to some people so that they can inject some more money into it, that would be nice. There's a lot of opportunities there. There's a lot of options there. But I would like for Ring of Honor to continue to exist. And I know a lot of people are probably going to say, Mongo, you're missing something. Mongo, you got to talk about it. Mongo, why won't WWE just buy the tape library? Which they could. To be quite honest, they could. They could drop a whole dime on Ring of Honor and just buy the whole fucking library. If that'll keep the company alive, I'm okay with it. Give Sinclair whatever they want to keep Ring of Honor alive. If you have to sell the entire tape library and start from scratch, do it. What Vince's going to do is just put it on the network, which I have anyway, so that's perfectly fine for me. But if it'll keep Ring of Honor alive, I'm okay with it. If it means that Vince is going to buy Ring of Honor and it's going to no longer exist, like Evolve, no, I don't want that. I want Vince to be like, okay, well, I'll buy the tape library. Boop, I'll buy the tape library and that's it. All right, fine. If that's what it takes, because I know Impact has done that before. They've sold pieces of the tape library in order to stay alive. That's why, certain parts of Impact are not on their service because they signed over some of the library. And companies do that. AWA did it. Some other promotions have signed over pieces of the library. You can do that. I'm pretty sure there's some years, maybe a couple of, maybe the first 10 years of Ring of Honor will be great for WWE. Because then you'll have Danielson, you'll have Styles, you'll have Punk, you'll have Samoa Joe. You'll have a lot of guys that were, WWE superstars. You could use their Ring of Honor footage. Sure, they don't have to buy the entire tape library. They can buy the first 15 years, the first 20 years or whatever. They don't have to buy the whole thing. But, that's... I really didn't want to get into that. But I feel like I would be doing this video a disservice if I didn't discuss the possibility of WWE swooping in and saying, hey, you want to sell your 2002 to 2010 tape library for, $4 million, $3 million or whatever? It'll get you to next year at some point, get you in bigger buildings, But I don't know. I'm really down bad because I really like Ring of Honor. And I hope that most of the guys that I liked can stick around, and hope all the luchadors don't just go back to Mexico and say fuck it. Hopefully all the cool guys who I've really come to enjoy in Ring of Honor don't just say fuck it and sign to be dark guys on AEW Dark or jobbers in NXT or something like that. That would be doing a disservice to Ring of Honor and doing a disservice to the talent themselves. And some people burn their bridges, so they're going to have to make do. But the NWA is there as well. Don't forget about them. MLW is there. I'm pretty sure they're going to have some type of angel investor. And, people keep talking about, they're about to have a TV deal, so hopefully they'll get that. And then Impact is also still there. So there's a lot of wrestling promotions that are still open for a lot of talent. But I like the roster that Impact built. I mean, not Impact. I hate Impact's roster. I like the roster that Ring of Honor built, and I like their style. And I wish they get to stay around. All right. Let me know what you guys think. Like this video, share this video, subscribe to the channel, donate to the channel. Thank you guys for your time, and I'll talk to you guys later.